Stories that shape our world. I'm Aleksandra Żaczek. Today we are taking a closer look at the secret ingredient of Polish business success. What began with a passion for mountains has gone much farther, even into space. What does it tell us about the country's growing economy?
Sport was always important in my life and has a big part in my life since I was a kid. And to be honest, I had many periods of fascination of different sports. I love spending time in the nature and doing sports in the nature. Of course, I love traveling, but I'm very lucky that I can also do some sports where I live, so close to my hometown. In summer I can climb, and in winter, I can just go out and have some walk in forests, in the small mountains, and it's great to just go outside and relax. Freeze-dried food is the product we produce for outdoor people. So thanks to that, I had the chance to meet professional athletes, and they inspire me also to go outdoors and to explore more sports like climbing or mountaineering, ski touring. So it's great to have this opportunity. Ja cię karmię.
Pięknie. Pracowałem przez 10 lat w stacji krwiodawstwa.
I worked at a blood bank for 10 years. That's where I learned about freeze drying. My job was to preserve blood plasma.
Krwi. No i później
Then the 80s happened and things were difficult in Poland.
sytuacja była na tyle ciężka, że
To support my family, I had to start my own company.
założyć własną firmę.
It just so happened that freeze drying was being phased out as a method of preserving blood.
Cofywana z utrwalania.
So I was able to buy small freeze dryers at scrap metal prices. That's how it all started.
Małe liofilizatory. No i od tego się zaczęło. Początkowo produkcja była
At first, we only produced a tiny amount of product, maybe 600 kilograms per year. Now we make that much in a single day.
100 kilo liofilizatu, a teraz tyle.
We gradually started building our own equipment. Ours were the first industrial freeze dryers built in Poland.
Własne liofilizatory. Były to pierwsze przemysłowe liofilizatory, jakie powstały w Polsce. Cztery lata po otworzeniu działalności tu w Daleszycach
4 years after we started the business in the village of Daleszyce, we had our first partnership with adventurers, Himalayan mountaineers in this case.
organizując swoją wyprawę
Krzysztof Wielicki was preparing an exhibition to Summit K2 and reached out to ask if we would supply freeze-dried meals for them.
o możliwość przygotowania dla nich liofilizowanych.
We were more of a sponsor than a supplier because we barely charged them any money. We were a small company out in the countryside,
Pieniędzy po prostu
and we were just proud that famous Polish mountaineers were asking us to make food for them.
zwracają się do nas, małej firmy wiejskiej, żeby przygotować im żywność.
This is now important. We have ready to climb K2, or you would like to come back?
Później dużym takim projektem, w którym pomogliśmy znanym podróżnikom.
Another major project we took part in later was the Race 2000, in which Roman Paszka circumnavigated the globe.
Race 2000, gdzie pan kapitan Roman Paszkę opływał Ziemię. Później zaczęło się tych zapytań
Then we got more and more inquiries from other adventurers and travelers.
pojawiać coraz więcej.
That's when my wife and I decided that we would have to get our children involved to help us out with this part of the business.
Nasze dorastające dzieci, żeby nam pomogły w tym segmencie.
More than 2 weeks of arduous trekking under extreme conditions. That part is over. The biggest challenge, braving the bitter cold with temperatures falling to -30°C and the fierce wind. It was hard for them to breathe, much less walk, hauling over 100 kilos of gear, but they're made of hard stuff. They knew what they had signed up for and they were well prepared.
We were very proud that we supported expedition of Marek Kamiński and Jan Mela to the North and South Pole. It was a very powerful story in Poland back then, and Janek was the youngest person who reached the both poles and the first one with disability to do it.
A na kolację też liofilizowane jedzenie.
And for dinner, we'll have more freeze-dried food. All of these freeze-dried meals have to be soaked in hot water. Lucky for us, we didn't have to bring any water along because we've been walking on frozen water this whole time. We can just melt it on our stoves.
Po śniegu, który możemy sobie na kuchence przytopić na wodę.
I'm a mother and an entrepreneur. My daughter is now at university, but when we started over 15 years ago, I was doing everything at once, running business and running home. It wasn't easy, but here comes the advantage of family business. My father is a huge inspiration for me. His courage that he started company in late 80s by himself. And his calmness in every storm that is coming through company during those years.
Everything started after the Second World War. That was an historical, critical moment, especially for young guys in Italy. They have basically nothing, but they have such a big dream. And people want to feel free after so many years of dramatic situation. They just want to feel free.
Grande Davide, grande Giga! Siamo su! Grazie a te!
So a day in Ragni di Lecco group, we are basically more or less 100 person. Does it mean it's not 100 person making activity like expedition or climbing at the highest level as possible? So let's say the young generation will be more or less 20 person. They make a great expedition. Some of us still climb every day. Some others are getting older, like me, so they can start to share the passion with the young generation, and that's it.
We still support expeditions and athletes. Together we create meals tailored to their needs. Recently, to develop a new meal, members of Ragni di Lecco group from Italy came to Kielce.
So we grow up in the mountain. We have this special dish from, let's say, Lombardia region, and especially in the mountain region. it calls pizzoccheri. People from the mountain eat it starting from a long time ago, because was a real dish that you can have energy for all day long. And that if we are able to make something like that and share it with the rest of the world and carry that one in Patagonia, in Himalaya, and some other place that we like to travel, that it's like have a little bit of house, a little bit of our own region, even if you are far away from home. For us it will be a great adventure, even bigger because it looks complicated and strange, than go climb a mountain. But for sure with this feeling of family, everything will work much easier.
Polskie pierogi. Jak możecie zobaczyć tutaj, pierogi sobie same latają, a ja mogę zrobić dokładnie to samo.
Freeze-dried food was developed also because of space missions. When we got inquiry from European Space Agency to produce a special menu for Polish astronaut, it was like a great opportunity for us. Yeah, and another big adventure. It was developed to promote Polish cuisine, to promote Poland on ISS, and also to give Polish astronaut a little bit of home out there when he was in space.
Pierogi is a very Polish dish. So we eat them for Christmas. We eat them. It is also a comfort food. It is very homey. And wherever I lived, and I lived in so many different countries, in France, in Germany, in Switzerland, in England, in Norway, I always made pierogi myself and made other people taste them, just to share a bit of culture, a bit of Poland, and a bit of who we are.
Every day on my way to the office, I'm passing by the mural, and it reminds me of the huge effort everybody did, and nobody expected it will be possible.
Well, we can say that sky is no longer the limit. We should probably say the space is the limit now. Adam Koniuszewski here with me in the studio. Thank you for being with us. Financier and sustainable development expert and the founder of the Bridge Foundation. Do you regret watching this success story that you were forced to, with your parents, to leave Poland in such an early age?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it allowed me a number of things, leaving Poland in the early 70s, growing up in Canada, and coming back in 1989 as the Berlin Wall was falling. And I say as because I have a piece of the wall at home. People were on the wall. We crossed through Berlin and arrived in Poland. We were in Katowice, we were in Krakow, we were in Warsaw. We ran out of fuel in the middle of a small little village in the middle of nowhere, and there was nothing. The stores were empty, and yet everything was there because it was available. My dad gave $20 to a guy. He left in one direction, and a canister with fuel arrived with a guy from another direction. And so everything seemed empty, but the resourcefulness, the resilience of Polish people was there. And this is something that hit me because in Montreal, we were part of the protests in the streets. Solidarność, screaming Solidarność every weekend, every Sunday in front of the Polish consulate.
So do you think this resourcefulness is actually the secret ingredient of Polish success story right now?
I think you're putting the finger right on it. I think there are several ingredients in this recipe, just like in the success story of our friends here. One of them is the scale of Poland, a large educated workforce that has been chained for 50 years. but still managed to function. It is no coincidence that this whole process of transformation that led to the Geneva summit, but that started here in Poland. The fall of the Berlin Wall didn't start in Berlin, it started in Gdańsk and Gdynia. And it's no coincidence. It's the spirit of Polish people. When they get together around a common cause, they become unstoppable. And I think in 1989, these forces were unleashed in a way that is constructive and that is driving economic growth and innovation and is going to continue, I hope, for the very long future.
So if we're going to cook a meal on Polish economic success, you've mentioned ingredients like resourcefulness, well-educated people. What else?
Well, I think there's many of it. The fact that Poland has endured so much, not only during 50 years of communism, but 2 world wars, and even before that, the partitions. Poland has, and Polish people have, this resilience. It's in their DNA. And these forces have been contained for 50 years. They've been unleashed now, and they're unstoppable.
In your work right now in Poland and also in Geneva, or as a financier, do you see a lot of stories like we just saw of a people who are so devoted and passionate about their business? Because literally they found a niche, very unique one.
Well, Poles have something very special in them. And I say they're unstoppable. This is not just a figure of speech, it really is. The first people to climb all the highest peaks in the world in wintertime. In summertime, of course, that's too easy for Poles. In wintertime, they were all Polish. I climbed with some Polish people. I climbed the top of the Mont Blanc with Polish people. I know about this resilience, and it provides me with a lot of inspiration, this willingness to go further and higher. Just last year, it was a Polish lady who won the most famous ultra-long race in the world, the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc. The world champion in freeride skiing is Polish as well. And I'm very glad that she's riding in Verbier, where I ski as well. So there's a lot of inspiration that's coming from Poland, not only from the business sector, but also from the world of philanthropy, from the world of civic engagement,
Do I get you
and from
right?
the world of sport.
Right. Do I get you right? Is it for us that we like to push the boundaries?
Absolutely.
Farther and farther, just to get extra challenge?
Absolutely. The limit for a Pole does not exist. This golden ceiling, no, we have to go beyond it. And it is not limited by business success. Business success is one thing, but these people who have achieved in terms of finances, in terms of growing their entities, their family businesses or other businesses, now they are getting involved in other aspects in order to advance society.
I need to ask you about your journey on a bicycle through all those countries that we used to call the countries behind the Iron Curtain.
Well, the inspiration behind it has to do with the end of the Cold War. And the first time I could come back to Poland was with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Iron Curtain. This has been transformed, the former Iron Curtain has been transformed into the longest cycling trail in Europe. And this has been done thanks to a number of people who have devoted a lot of energy into keeping the memory of the Iron Curtain and the Cold War alive. Because many people wanted to be, all of that to be erased off the map. A number of people in Berlin, and with sort of patronship of people like Václav Havel, Gorbachev, Lech Wałęsa, have worked together in order to keep the Iron Curtain, but instead of keeping it as a wall, putting it as something that connects the two sides of Europe, the two sides that have been ripped apart for 50 years, come back together with the longest cycling trail, over close to 11,000 kilometers, from the tip of Norway all the way down to the borders of Greece.
So from your perspective, from what you've seen, is it still two types of Europe?
Well, it's two types of Europe in what sense?
Well, you just said that to combine what was behind the Iron Curtain with what was on the West. Do you still see while cycling that there is those two dimensions?
Well, I see our common European heritage with all of our differences, because within a couple of hours, you move from one country to the next country where you have a different language, you have different food, you have different customs, and it is such an incredible, it is so rich, and it's something that we do not value sufficiently. People from all over the world come and cycle in Europe because of this, because of our history, because of the old towns, because of the different villages, because of the diversity of food and the quality of the food that we have in Europe.
You also work with young people, young perhaps entrepreneurs, Polish young entrepreneurs. What's their approach in terms of developing their own way of business, their own way of doing business?
Well, Polish people have learned that the road ahead is not going to be easy, but they're willing to go the extra distance in order to make things happen. So they're willing to work together. They speak English, which is a huge advantage. So people from different places. I'll give you one example. There's a colleague that I know who manages a large investment fund in Geneva. He was in Poland on business and his computer broke. Now that to him was meant that this would be a problem for the rest of the week. He will not have access to his computer. But he went to a place and they fixed it on the spot. Now he told me that in Switzerland, he first would have had to take an appointment and then leave the computer for 4 or 5 days. But he had a working computer. And since then, he's coming back to Poland whenever he can, on every opportunity, and he works from here.
So this is another example of Polish resourcefulness, if I get you correct. But from the strict financial perspective, what would be Polish assets?
Yes, of course. The scale that Poland has, I mean, the Baltics, you mentioned a little earlier, they have been able to develop certain sectors of the economy very well. Poland has this ability to develop many sectors very well because it has a level and a depth of both skills, but also the number of people, the access to financial markets, the Warsaw Stock Exchange, and access to financing from abroad, which I think is going to be increasingly important. And more you see Polish businesses growing very fast, growing so fast that the capacity for financing within Poland is no longer enough, and they have to go abroad. And this is one of the aspects that I'm helping to bridge.
Right. Is it a challenge then? Or what are the challenges?
I think this is a very interesting time to be in Poland. Especially for someone like me, who has access to the capital and the financing coming from places from Canada, from the United States, or from Switzerland, or elsewhere, and bringing it to help fund successful projects that are being built in Poland. It's a very exciting time. Outgrowing the capacity to finance yourself internally, of course, it's a bit of a ceiling, but it's opening up doors and possibilities in order to move very quickly beyond, and not only for Americans to come and invest in your business here in Poland, but for this Polish business to be able and flourish in Switzerland and eventually in the United States as well.
But would you agree with me that, after all, people are the biggest asset of Poland?
Very well educated and large workforce base, coupled with this DNA and this thirst for success and for building something better, which is not obvious. We do not realize how important this is, and I think it comes from the history that Poland has that other countries have not gone through, and the need for Poles to prove themselves, but also to prove to the entire world that we've been chained for too long and we're back.
So true. Thank you very much. Adam Koniuszewski, financier, sustainable development expert, and the founder of the Bridge Foundation. Thank you very much for being with us. And I'm Aleksandra Żaczek. That was Close Up. See you next week.